Hey everyone, it's Grady from SUBOVERLAND. In this video, I'll be doing an overview of 5 generations of Suburbans. Let's get right into it. So if you guys are watching this channel, you probably know that I'm kind of the suburban guy. So we build these things into Overland rigs, and so we do a lot of different, custom work on the interiors. But behind it all is the Chevy Suburban, the longest running nameplate. Started in 1935 all the way till today. It's still going. And so I realized on the lot I had 5 generations of these things, so I thought I'd do a video. So we have 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th gen Suburban, and I'll do a little overview for you. So let's start with the 7th gen. This is 76, but these ran from 73 to 91. The longest running generation of Suburban, and also I think longest running generation of car out there. Could be wrong on that, but you guys correct me if I am. But this is the longest, very long running generation. These are great. It went through, obviously carburation in the first, and then they went to throttle body injection towards the end. Solid front and rear axles, the best off-road Suburbans, and arguably, coolest body styling, depending on who you talk to. These are really sought after, the square body. And so these are really fun. I have had a couple of these, quite a bit of them, and they've been great vehicles. They're more reliable than you think for being how old they are, and definitely love them. Pros and cons. Pros, like I said, off-road ability and styling, I guess. I definitely, people are into that. And pro also, I would say they're reliable comparably to, other vehicles of this era. These small block Chevy V8s did amazing, or the Chevy V8s, regardless if it's a big block or not or whatever. And even the diesels did well too. So I'm a fan. Cons, rougher ride because of the solid axles, and you don't have airbags in this gen, which is important to some people, and a little bit poorer fuel economy, I would say. Look at it's giant. That's another, I guess, pro and con. They're huge, biggest Suburban. And so that's what I would say. And for someone that would get into this, you got to have a little bit of mechanical knowledge, I would say, or it's best to, because things break on these just like any other older vehicle, and it's better to be able to fix it yourself or be comfortable with it. So that's just a little overview of the 7th gen. Next one we'll go over really quickly is the 8th gen. This is 92 to 99 generation. This particular one's a 3/4 ton with the 6.5 liter diesel. Very rare Suburban. Most of them were the gas engines. So this era they had 350 small block V8 or the 454. So they had 3 engine options, the diesel or the 2 gas. The big block was obviously only in 3/4 tons. And then the 350 was found in 1/2 and 3/4 ton. I've had both. Good engines. They went from throttle body, so 92 to 95 was throttle body injection, and then 96 to 99 was when Vortec was introduced. You guys have seen that, I'm sure, and went to fuel injection, and they're great. It's just a really good era, and definitely a ton of pros. These things are very reliable. You're still can hop in this thing and go. I would say the gas more than the diesel. just in general across the board, I like diesels, but I also realize that, you know, a small block Chevy is very reliable. And then interior wise, let's show you quick. This is the 92 to 94 interior. One of my favorite, actually. These seats, this thick cloth is like amazing. This one actually was ripped, which is like the first I've ever witnessed, but it kind of has this square going on there. This one's got 263,000 miles, I believe, on original drivetrain. So, and this is the era, all of them had overdrive transmissions. So you had the 4L60 for the half tons and then the 4L80 for the 3/4. My opinion, both good transmissions. The 4L80 obviously is more heavy duty. So quick, you know, like pros and cons of these. Pros, reliability, and they ride better than the 7th gen because of IFS. They got a new suspension, so independent front suspension. And so, you know, it rides more like a car than these older, you know, solid axle ones. Fuel efficient. The old 350 small blocks, those things will get up to 20 miles a gallon for some people stock, and especially, you know, the, you know, 2-wheel drive, just cruising, they'll get up to 20. There's just great fuel economy for how big they are. They're big, and so you can fit a lot of people in them, obviously 8, 9 passenger. And then another pro is parts. Just across the board on all these Suburbans, a pro is going to be maintaining them. So parts are cheap, easy to maintain. Cons, I would say the interiors of these, although I like the styling because it's kind of cool, they kind of break more than other gens. Like little stuff like this. Where's some other? I've fixed a lot of this, but, and then on the 96 to 99s, it's kind of plasticky. And so you'll have, you know, door handles. These things are notorious. See, this one's starting, this one's pretty good, but they'll break. The interior door handles will break all the time. So little like interior stuff are annoyances. And I'd also say, as far as the V8 goes, I'm more of a fan of the older, or the, you know, newer 5.3. I think they last longer and a little bit less maintenance, and they don't run into overheating issues as much. The 350 and 454, although extremely reliable, they did have some issues where, you know, coolant, they have 2 intake gaskets, so you have an upper and a lower, which I'm not a huge fan of, and you would start leaking and then it would get, you know, combustion. And so that wasn't like crazy common or anything, but when it happened, it's just kind of annoying because it didn't happen on the newer 5.3. So definitely a big fan of, you know, 8th gen, and they're cool. Next one is 9th gen, and in my opinion, this is kind of the sweet spot of the Suburban. These ran from 2000 to 2006, and, you know, take apart, you know, take away styling and everything else, to me, this drivetrain is the most reliable, in my opinion. They're all very reliable. I will preface that again, but to me, this just is a little bit better, a little more, and I'll explain that why. But so this particular one is a Z71. This is the first era where they did the Z71 off-road package. So they started doing a little bit stuff there. And this has a 5.3 liter V8. It's a half ton, 4L60 transmission. And they're great rigs. This one has over 300,000 miles, original engine. Transmission's been replaced, I think 20,000 miles ago. But they're just great. This one's been built out. But the 5.3 V8 just didn't have a lot of problems. I've seen like one head gasket go, like one. I know obviously it happens, but super rare. Timing chain issues, never. None of these V8s ever have timing chain issues like you see in a lot of cars. So pros of this is just reliability. I would say this, if you want to get just the most, in my opinion, the most reliable vehicle, most reliable Suburban, this is it. And then it had some styling things, you know, leather seats were very common, power seats, all that stuff. And so it had a little bit better option package with the Z7-1. And then this is the era where they introduced, well, I guess they had Escalade and Denali, but where the Escalade and the Denali became more popular. So you had that option. This is, like I said, a half ton, but they had 3/4 ton. So engine options were 5.3 or an 8.1 or a 6.0, sorry. So 5.3, 6.0 or 8.1, all V8, you know, that Vortec V8. The 6.0s and 5.3s share the same parts, so they're very interchangeable, making it very affordable, and there's tons of these on the road. So any part you can find. The 8.1s were great also. It replaced the 454, the 7.4 liter from the previous gen. Those do well. But if it were me, you know, the most reliable vehicle, 5.3 or 6.0, half ton or 3/4 ton, whatever, 2000 to 2006. So pros are that. Cons of this year, it's hard to really think. I mean, these are kind of notorious for, people kind of rag on GM for their transmissions sometimes, but honestly, how can you complain when it, like this transmission went 280,000 miles? You've got more than your money worth out of that one. I've taken them to 400K. So, I mean, I get it. People have experienced it, but they're the cheapest transmission you can buy. So, again, parts are just so cheap for these. So, pros are definitely cheap parts, easy to maintain, very reliable. 9th gen. Let's go to the next one. So here's the 10th gen Suburban. These are 07 to 14. And I am also obviously a fan of these. There's never been a generation of Suburban or that I do not like, mechanically or otherwise. So this is the GMC version. In 2000, they started doing the GMC Yukon XL. And so that's where it changed from the earlier. So this gen also had the Yukon XLs, just like this one. So this is a Yukon XL. No difference to the Suburban. It still has, you know, the same transfer case and things like that. And these gens, I love the interiors of these. I really think they hit it out of the park. These leather seats hold up better than other gens. It just feels, you know, more modern than it should. 8 row, three rows obviously, just like the rest. 8 to 9 passengers. Still have a 5.3. This one's been lifted just like the other ones with 33-inch tires. But this gen, they started doing AFM, active fuel management, and it can be problematic. So when you're buying this gen, you've really got to be careful, more careful than the 9th gen as far as like engine goes. I can just hop in old 9th gen 5.3, do my regular check, and I've only had, I think, one engine replacement out of, you know, all of the ones that I've done, and they're just great. These the active fuel management goes from 4 to 8 cylinders, and so the lifters prematurely fail, crankshaft, different things like that, and so they still will go the distance. I've had plenty of these over 200,000 miles, and they run great, and I drive them anywhere. But You just have to kind of be careful. And so pros of this, I would say they drive really well, comparable to even the 9th gen. They changed up the suspension. This is front and rear coil suspension. And so when we're through with them, they ride amazing. This one has that missing right there. Anyway, I need to replace that side. But so that's a pro. I like the suspensions of them. Not necessarily better. I don't know, guys, this is tough. But also a pro is the comfort of the inside, like interior wise. I really like these interiors. I think they're fantastic. They seem to hold up better than previous generations. Cons, I'm just gonna have to say that AFM. So cons are definitely AFM on these. So you just got to be careful. I'm not saying don't buy these. They're still very reliable, comparable to a ton of vehicles out there. But if you are getting them, you just got to have some extra precaution regarding the AFM. And there's tons of videos and information on that. But yeah, so this is 10th gen. And here we are to 11th gen Suburban, 15 to 20. So it wasn't as long. I guess it's about the same. But yeah, so 2015 to 2020. This is actually my first one I've ever had. I don't usually, this is a 2015, so it's almost 10 years old. But this is so new to me. And most people are like, oh my gosh, like I've never had a used car or whatever. So I get it. But this is just so new to me. So it's been fun getting to know this gen. So this is a great, reliable vehicle so far. This one has 195K. I've seen a lot of these with very similar mileages as previous, 400,000 miles. So I know they can go the distance. These are direct injection, like every car nowadays. And so it comes with some different maintenance issues. Like I just replaced the injectors in this. It was not cheap. And kind of a difficult job because they were stuck. Anyway, so that was kind of annoying. And because on all the previous gen, you never have to replace an injector. I've never had to replace one injector on any of the previous Suburbans. So that was a little annoying. Another kind of weird thing that they did on this gen was they did a vacuum. Obviously the brakes are vacuum just like previous, but they have a vacuum pump. So I'm not going to get too into this, but gas engines usually can produce plenty of vacuum to run your brake booster and run your brakes. Diesels don't produce enough vacuum, so they have a thing called a vacuum pump. These, they put a vacuum pump on, and I think it may have, because this particular engine didn't produce enough vacuum, but I could be wrong. I haven't actually looked into it. All I know is I had to replace it already. So I replaced the vacuum pump and all the injectors and some other little, things. So that is, I would say, cons of this are the injectors have to be replaced. It's a really common thing, and that vacuum pump. So I'm starting to see a little things like that getting a little bit more complicated. And then pros are definitely interior. I absolutely love this interior. I think it's gonna hold up pretty well. Obviously it's more modern, but I think they did a really good job with the interiors on these. The third row seat folds flat, which is also kind of cool. So it goes down into the floor type of deal. These also get better fuel economy. I just took this on a road trip and we got above 20. So I think that's pretty cool. So better fuel economy for these are pros. I really like how they look. Like I just went and drove a a Lincoln Navigator, like a 27 Navigator. And I'm sorry if I'm ragging on someone's car here, but I just thought it looked super old and kind of hideous compared to this gen of Suburban. So I really like the styling of what they did here. So let me know what you think. And obviously new features, you know, so it has lane assist and things like that. So this is the first year they started doing that. So if that's a big deal to you, these are optioned out where you could get that. So this 11th gen, I really like it. Just mechanically, they had a couple more maintenance issues that I'm not liking so far. But having said that, I think these are going to be very reliable vehicles if you can just kind of stomach a couple of those repairs. And they're going to go just as far, you know, as far as, you know, mileage goes. I think these things are going to pop 300 pretty easy, just like the rest of the gens, which is really cool because I think GM has done a great job with kind of staying under the radar with these as far as like reliability. But if you look at any consumer report and stuff, they're always up there. Thanks for watching this video. Sorry it got pretty long. I don't know how long this is going to end up, but probably pretty long. But these are great. Obviously, you know, I'm kind of biased, I guess, as far as the Suburban love, but I've always loved these things. And if I could give a quick little overview of like what I would choose, you know, I'm sure you guys are wondering. I would say reliability and like maintaining, as far as, you know, lowest maintenance costs and things like that. I would go 9th gen, 2006. Interior, as far as like comfort and more features, 10th and 11th are my favorite interiors. And then styling, it's got to be, I don't have it here, but 67 to 72 would be my like favorite gen styling, I guess. 7th gen is a close second. Square bodies are cool. And then you're probably wondering like, well, what about the 8th gen? You know, 92 to 99. Those are still cool. I have one. I'm excited to build it out and everything. I really do. I guess I really like those interiors too. They're kind of fun, just because it's like more nostalgic for me, because my mom always had one, and you know, they're cool. So all generations are reliable. All are cool. All have their pros and cons. So you can't go wrong with any gen. But you know, if you're looking, also off-road capability, 7th gen square body are great, the best. So if you're like a rock crawler, want to go beat the crap out of your car, 7th gen. But if you are doing more highway stuff and maybe like tons of national parks and really want a comfy ride, you know, 07 and newer probably. If you're just looking for all around, you know, 9th gen reliability and everything. So anyway, that's what I would say on all these gens. Hopefully it all kind of made sense. If you guys have any comments about like what gen you like, or you know, the reasons behind, or if I said something wrong or whatever, please comment below. I'd love to hear it all, and so we can learn from each other. So hopefully you guys will do that, and I will respond, and it'll be a great little party. But thanks for watching, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. We'd love to have you here, and we'll catch you on the next one.